is Dan Abbott. I'm making a short video on how to take a block that you've created in imperial units and then convert it to metric units when that block has dynamic elements in it. So I've got an example here. This is a dishwasher. You can see that it's obviously measured in imperial units, 2 feet 11 by 2 feet. If you select it, you've got a lookup table. You go to the lookup table and you can change the width of it. It changes automatically. So there are two approaches that I'm going to suggest here. And in both cases, what I'm going to do is start by selecting the block in the drawing that it's in right now. I've inserted it. And then selecting it by holding the left button on my mouse down and then moving the mouse over. And I'm going to put this on a tool palette. I'm going to drop it in place on a tool palette. And now I'm going to go and start a metric drawing. So now this drawing is metric. The value for measurement set to 1. If we go to units, the insertion units is set to millimeters. If we were to load line types, they'd be loaded from the ACAD ISO LAN file. If we were to put hatch patterns in, they'd be scaled automatically for metric. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to grab that dishwasher block and I'm going to insert it into this drawing. It comes up, had some attributes associated with it as well. Actually has so I'll put a dimension on here. First I want to go to the dimension style. I want it to be an annotative dimension style. I'm just going to change this to arc metric just so I know what it's called. I'm going to set that current and I want to get rid of these other two styles because we never want to use anything that's got the name standard, ISO 25, or annotative. So I want to modify it because I can't stand the thought of having a comma in there for a decimal separator. So I'm going to go over here and change the comma to a period. And I'll leave everything else set the same. So now if we go back, and I'll change the scale here. So let's say we're going to plot this, maybe at a 1 to 10 scale. So if I were to put a linear dimension on here now, you'll see that the size right now is a size that makes sense in millimeters, 889. If I come down here and grab that, it's also in metric. So I've now modified this so it's a metric size. Now it may not be that metric size dishwashers come in those exact units, but the point here is how to take an existing block that is made for imperial units and change it to metric. Well, why did it change? It's because when I put it on the tool palette, it was a block definition on that tool palette, and when I inserted it, insert units, which is set to millimeters, recognizes that there's a mismatch between the units that the original drawing was done in, which was imperial, where inches are the basic unit, and the drawing that we're in right now, which is millimeters. If I hadn't done that, and I tried bringing that into a metric drawing, it would have come in 125.4th the size. In other words, it would have come in at the actual size that it was drawn. So this is the one that would be in imperial units. So one simple way to use that block is simply to put it on a tool palette and then insert it into a metric drawing where the insert units will automatically take care of that for you. And if you go and highlight that and right click and go to properties, under properties you'll see over here that the scale in the X, Y, and Z axes was all 25.4 and it happened automatically because of insert units. Now, what if you want to just convert that so the block itself is set up for metric? You'd have to start with a metric drawing like this and then go in and redefine the block. Now what I'm going to do here is grab this block, right click, go to block editor, and in block editor, it's not going to be automatically larger. If we take a look and say what's this distance from here to here, 35, that's 35 inches, but it's 35 units in AutoCAD. So one thing you might think of is we can try just going ahead and making this larger. So I'm going to go and scale all the objects in the drawing from the base point that was added 25.4 times. Now that looks like it worked pretty well. If I go over here to a test block, and in the test block I try it out, and I say let's go from here and then change it to standard. What you'll find is that all the values in the lookup table were set based on inches, which means if you're going to convert this into millimeters the way I'm doing it here by scaling it up in the block editor, you're going to have to go back to, go back and close it, you're going to have to go back to the lookup table, and you're going to have to modify the lookup table. So the lookup table is right here. If we right click on that and then display the lookup table, it comes up here. So all these values that are now in inches would have to be converted to metric. So you'd have to just multiply 18 times 25.4, each one of these values by 25.4, and what you put over here can be whatever you want. Those are simply the tags placed in the lookup table so that you can see which one you're selecting. The mathematical relationships are in that left column, so you'd have to convert that. So I think the easiest way to deal with this is to open up a metric drawing, bring all your blocks in, and then just leave them in that drawing the way they are. So what you really have to do if you want them to be metric blocks is to put them into a metric drawing and then modify the block definition itself by going into by scaling everything up and then going into the lookup table and making changes there.